All right, so first off today, let's talk about the men and the women's USA teams winning in the Olympics. Sam, in one of our previous shows, you had a really difficult time with the amount of effort being expended by the men's team, and yet here they have come to win the whole thing. So let's talk about that. Do you think that your complaints made it to the right ears, or were they just shocked that they lost and they underestimated their opponent and adjusted accordingly in the next games?
I would hope so that my feedback got back to the USA basketball team because honestly, this is how I feel, and this is particularly how I feel about basketball because I love basketball. You guys know this. I grew up playing basketball. I love basketball. And the effort that I was seeing in the beginning
You got
of
a
the
basketball Joe.
USA team,
He's got a
the effort
basketball
I seen in the
Joe.
U.S. basketball team was not the effort I ever seen with other USA basketball teams, and I was concerned. I was really concerned because the one thing is that the U.S. basketball team they played France. They were battling. They had a very hard time throughout the whole game, but Kevin Durant came through, saved the day. I just didn't want to see the same output it was when in 1972 when the U.S. basketball team went against Russia and they had this controversial call of the 3 seconds of um, they blocked the Russians missed the shot and then somehow they gave them 3 more seconds to inbound the ball. So they inbound the ball and hit the basket, and the U.S. basketball team lost in 1972. So I'm glad that I seen on the episode that Doug Collins, who was actually on that roster, he actually went to them and was just like, "Listen, this is important. I understand you got your millions, your contracts, and everything else, but this is important because of what happened back then. Don't take this for granted." So I'm glad that his words got to the basketball team. They start playing a whole lot better, and then they beat France, which the team beat them before. So they got their revenge back. So I'm glad with that. So I still have that, I guess, um, that same energy of chanting USA when it comes to basketball, when it comes to that game with that sport. So I was pretty happy. And Kevin Durant, to me, is right now the best player in the world right now as far as basketball. Sorry, LeBron, I gotta give it to Kevin Durant.
Don't pretend like you're sorry. Come on, come
I
on.
know, I know. I know. Yeah,
Yeah, but you heard him qualify it. He's the best player in the world in basketball right now. He's like in 15 minutes. Hey, stuff happens. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. 15 minutes from now, things are different. New facts, new
New
information, new
information
opinions. That's how it
come out.
works.
Yeah, right. What
That's
about you,
how it works.
Tommy? Wake up call or other?
Um, other. Like, it's always as we talked about. There's always that the idea of especially how everything went. NBA season gets pushed out longer. Things go there. You don't have everybody there that basically could be there. And so you get there, and it takes a minute to gel and click and all that, and then you get it there. And then it's also a matter of let me fly out to the other side of the world and do this on somebody else's schedule. I'm an entertainer, but I'm gonna do this with no crowd. We ain't even gonna have like fake noise and stuff and the screens and all the all that stuff like we did like they had before. So it's like basically for them, yeah, it's gonna feel like well we're playing a real game, but it's like a real practice.
Yeah, it's split practice.
It's like there's nobody here, and so they're like okay, well this is what it is. Sometimes things don't work out. I think I think there are some things to consider. Just keeping things in perspective. You know, in '72, Sam, what did they get in '72?
They got silver. They got silver.
Okay, so they didn't exactly lose. They lost the gold match game, but they didn't exactly lose. We
No,
live
it
in a
was
society.
no. They lost. It
We
was a
live.
controversial call.
No, no, they lost the gold game. They didn't lose. They lost the gold, but they didn't lose. This is not, we make movies with Ricky Bobby because it's funny, not because it's reality. We do not live in the if you're not first, you're last world because hell shit, I'll be the third richest man on the planet. I'll take that. I'm good with it. I do not need to win that one. I'm happy not to. We have that. So it's kind of one of those like, put things in perspective, yeah, we like gold, we expect gold. Not having gold doesn't necessarily mean that folks are like, oh, well, you got silver, so you're nobody, right? That's it's not really set up that way. But the one over there, they got it done. The women got it done as well. They didn't have the startup and issues and things that the guys had, but they went through, got it done. And I mean, yeah, basketball is something that you tend to just expect the United States to win that. That's the team to come in, is the one that are going to be the gold standard to go and face and go and beat. That's going to be Team USA because, well, we have the NBA, right? As time to grow, things change. There's other stars in other countries that couldn't play here, didn't play here. They're playing there. Those leagues are being developed, and I mean, at some point, it would be what the NBA has will be vastly more international than where it is right now. Um, and the competition side may level out because, heck, I mean, you're still in a spot where there's guys that are playing for other countries that, yeah, they're in the NBA too. They just went home to where they're from and they're playing for that country.
Mhm.
So it's becoming international in what makes it up. But soon, I mean, hopefully, relatively soon, anyways, we'll get some level of international competition where you have teams in Europe and in Africa, and the rest of the freaking continent where you can get in there and you just have that spanning out. Because I mean, on the flip side, it's like it's great to see that stuff blow up so that we can see the folks from the United States that don't necessarily hit the NBA, but are able to go to Japan and play there, right? And have success there and do all those things there. And it's not necessarily just here. And that's why I brought up the whole, if you're not first, you're last, because there's guys that didn't make it in the NBA. And so you say, well, they weren't that good or whatever, but they were able to go somewhere else and not just make it, they were able to go there and be significant there. So it's just that keeping things in perspective, that the level of significance we place on it may simply have more to do with expectation than what it really should be. Like I said, we expect it. That's just, if there's one thing that we expect to win all the time, it's that. So when it doesn't happen, it's a big thing. But simply, like the idea of taking a silver instead of gold, there can be controversy. There's going to be disappointment and all that stuff. But you also notice that in just about every other competition in the Olympics, the folks in second, they're smiling just as big as the folks that won first. And as part of that is the expectation of it's not necessarily there, but they're grateful for what they were able to accomplish and get there. So I just don't want to see folks take this up as a call that it's like, hey, when it comes to U.S. basketball, if you guys don't, we're not a dictatorship, right? If you guys don't win gold, we're going to behead you and leave you there. It's like, it's not that. We expect
No,
it. Everybody
but
expects it. We have the skill and the talent.
I think that does play a role, though. If we don't take the gold, then what are we saying? We supposedly have some of the best players in the world. We do this for all intents for a living, and yet we can't win, or we don't win. I think it makes some fans start to question, like, well, why are we doing this if we're not going to go out there and beat everybody? Whether that's based in logic or just your, the feeling of I love basketball and this is my thing, and is irrelevant. I think that does become the thought in some people's minds.
Well, I would say this, that the expectation, yes, is for the U.S. basketball team to win. Now, granted, if it was a win that it was a close game, and at the end of the game that somebody other than the U.S. team shot the ball and won the game. Yes, we can accept that. I think the 1972 basketball game was because it was controversial because they inbound the ball. They inbound the ball. The dude missed the shot, and then when the dude missed the shot and the thing was over, the U.S. team was just like, "Yeah, we won." But somehow, this is the reason why it's called the controversial call. They said, "Oh no, you need to add 3 more seconds onto the clock. We need to do this over." And that
3
is
seconds is a long time in basketball. That's the game.
right. And still to this day, even with Doug Collins when he was explaining to the U.S. basketball team, you can still see that hurt as far as this happened back in 1972, and we're in 2021. It still hurts. So
It's basically 50 years.
yeah, it still hurts. So, but I mean, my expectation for the basketball team is way different from everybody else. And I can understand that if somebody says that, hey, they got silver, they got bronze, then they should be happy with that. Me, I wouldn't be that way because I hold them to a higher standard. So,
Well, but I think like you're saying too, Sam, there's a difference between we didn't win, but it was a real close game and we played our best, and kind of what they were showing in these first games, which is we're kind of not playing at all and we have no intention of winning. Like that's a whole different scenario in which I think a lot of people question. And at that point, I think both of you are right. It's not really a who gets first, who gets second, who gets third, or whatever situation. It's a, well, if we have players who don't want to play, why do we have players at all?
yeah, and it goes back to the effort that I've seen. When you look at the numbers as far as with the U.S. basketball team, you can look at their losses and then look at their wins. You see a total different stat as far as with defense, rebounds, steals. I mean, you see the difference. So, but I'm happy. I'm happy.
All right, well, since we're talking about basketball, I know we wanted to talk about the Lakers, so let's take a quick break and come
Oh,
back.
and
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I'm sorry, Jenna. Let me just say that the women basketball team. I know Tom said that the women basketball team won too, but this is actually their 7th consecutive of winning the gold. So
So now we got high
good job,
expectations
US
there going forward as
women
well.
team.
Awesome. Well, I mean, obviously, congratulations to our men and our women in basketball. And like I said, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and keep talking about basketball.